have the privilege today of speaking with Michael Feifer. He is the director for the Western from Lionsgate, Catch the Bullet. Thank you for being with me today. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Great. I'm excited. The movie's playing in 28, 30 theaters across the country. So
that's always a great sign when you're able to, check out something like this, old school type of Western in theaters where it should be viewed. Not that there's nothing wrong with home, but the bigger the screen, the bigger the action, right?
Yeah, well, we shot it in Wyoming. One of the ranches, the TA ranch, is 8,000 acres, and I shot a lot of drone shots and big wide vistas, 14 millimeter lenses, and you only really get that out of a theatrical experience. So I'm really happy. It's got pretty good theatrical for an indie film.
That's great, and hopefully people go out and check this out because it was a lot of fun. It was really dark at times. Tell us a little bit about Catch the Bullet.
Well, Catch the Bullet was written by a writer, author named Jerry Robbins. And the story's his creation, but it's about a character named Britt MacMasters, who's a marshal who arrives home to find that his son was kidnapped and taken away by a gang of guys led by this guy named Jed. And Jed has a history with Britt. And so he's really just kidnapped his son to torture Britt and draw Britt in, and Britt's got to go find his son. And the sheriff, played by Peter Facinelli, gives Britt a deputy to take with him, and the two of them head off to go save his son, played by Mason McNulty, and catch the bullet, which is a little part of the ending there, part of a game that Jed plays with Britt at the end and with Mason. So.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. So I want to ask you about the relationship between Britt and Chad, because is there resentment because he's gone all the time, or what is that resentment that we see in the beginning?
Well, certainly, and I mean, it's really hard for us in contemporary days to really comprehend. When Dad says you're going away. You're going away for months at a time. And I'm sure a lot of soldiers and a lot of people in the military experience this. Most normal people don't. It's, in 2021, if your kid needs you really bad, you can always jump on a plane and go home. In the Old West, you get on the horse and you're out 100, 200, 300 miles. You're not getting back anytime soon. And there's no phones. And so you can imagine a kid living with his grandfather, hasn't seen his father in a long time, and then he gets kidnapped before the father shows up. So there was that, in the beginning, Jerry does a nice job of setting up that relationship as being a strained relationship, but that really builds as we go on towards the end of the movie, which I won't give it away, but which the driving narrative behind it is Britt, played by Jay Pickett, who I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Jay passed away recently, unfortunately. But the narrative of Britt MacMasters having to get to his child, not only knowing that his child is probably being tortured and dragged through the mountains and desert by this guy, but also knowing that his child is upset at his father for not being around much.
Right. And then so it sets up an interesting relationship then, I feel, with Chad and Jed, which became very interesting to me because I feel like they found a lot of common ground in their back and forth of him trying to escape, him catching him and being on that journey together. Like you were saying, in the Old West, you got to travel pretty far. Can you talk a little bit about how that relationship transitioned into Chad and Jed?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely, both characters have a lot of angst, Chad and Jed, and there are moments in the movie where they connect, which I find really interesting. I think that it goes a lot to Jerry Robbins' script, and also it really it says a lot for Gatlin Griffith and Mason McNulty finding those moments to actually connect. And I think that Jed, which is Gatlin playing Jed, seeing Chad and him, and so I hope those layers show up in the film and show up as the audiences watch it and recognize there's a lot of layers going on, a lot of texture and a lot of character. And it always helps a story, anybody out there who's a writer, to know that it's really interesting to write stories. I know Jerry had a lot of fun in this. you might have an antagonist and protagonist, but they have to find common ground somewhere that makes them similar yet different enough that they're going against each other. And so you have these external forces, and then you have these internal forces in their personalities that make them connect and make them hate each other. And I hope that played out in the movie.
Yeah, actually, that was one of my favorite moments, was all of a sudden adding that different path that the story that I thought was going to be a little bit more linear. All of a sudden, it's oh, whoa, okay, we're this could not end the way I think it's going. All of a sudden, there's commonality here,
Right.
and the quote unquote bad guy is the dad all of a sudden for a few scenes or whatnot. So I like that about it.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
wanna-
in another world, those two would have been friends,
Yeah. I want to ask you, did any other Westerns inspire you and into any, maybe the way you shot this or some of the dialogue?
Well, what inspires me, first of all, I am a big fan of Westerns, going all the way back to Stagecoach and The Searchers and Magnificent Seven and High Noon. High Noon really inspires me a lot because that's a very dark Western. I mean, it's black and white, and it was shot at a time of noir. It's a noir Western. So when you direct films, and I feel, and I've directed 71 movies and produced over 100 movies, I think you have to immerse yourself in movies all the time. And then these things sort of bubble up and fester up as you're making a movie. Sometimes you can't really, I don't like to copy. I like to just go instinctively in my head. And you find out that we're not reinventing the wheel when we're directing movies. It's very seldom. So you're using inspiration from having experienced all these movies in the past. And so I like to do that. And actually, when I was younger, I had a film class in high school. In high school, my senior year, I had a teacher named Mrs. Cooper, and it was this film class where she showed everything from Psycho to Magnificent Seven to Fellini films in high school. And it really dug into my brain because I didn't intend to be a filmmaker. I actually went to school for architecture. But I think that when you immerse yourself in film and you watch a lot of film, it's just in you and it's instinctive. But I think not just, for instance, I love Spielberg's Empire of the Sun. That movie inspires me so much. One of my favorite films. It's really a Western, actually, Westerns are such a base storyline of basically going back to Greek mythology that you could take any movie. Star Wars is a Western, and really pare them down. That's why Westerns, I think, are very interesting too, is that we don't have cell phones, we don't have cars. It's really the base storyline and the characters. And so, inspiration comes from all of that. And sometimes when you're doing an indie film too, it's a lot of it's trying to figure out how to accomplish something with what you have. I mean, I think my drone shots that we did in that, my buddy Kelly Heron shot all the drone shots and all the jib arm using wider lenses. That really helps show the expansiveness. And then when you cut to a close up, so, putting those two things together in juxtaposition really makes the movie work well. I hope, mostly when Chad runs away through the desert and we just take a drone right over his head. So I hope you felt that watching it.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's set up nicely. The tone was immediately set by an event that I'm not going to talk about. But thank you so much, Michael, for your time. I appreciate it. I enjoyed Catch the Bullet. I enjoy Westerns. So hope to talk to you again soon.
I hope to talk to you too. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Take care.
Bye.